What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another superstar from the sport of mixed martial arts. This time we get to talk to one championship's lightweight champion, Tan Le, who's got a big fight coming up against Tang at One Championship 160. Welcome back, champ. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
We were just talking about you with One Championship VP, Rich Franklin, talking about the fight. Of course, your name came up as we're covering the big fights, not just on the morning show, but the later show as well on Amazon Prime Video. Boy, that Tang, I mean, he's fired up. You know what I mean? Like, sounds like he wants to bring it. And then, it's not like you don't. You look at your resume, his resume, a lot of first-round stoppages, a lot of second-round stoppages. I expect fireworks, except the difference is you seem to be more like a calm cat, like somebody that's just kind of keeping it professional. Not to say you're not dangerous and violent, but I think, I don't know, like you tell us, could that mean you're maybe the more dangerous assassin of the two?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it, but you tell me what's a little more scary. The guy that's calm, quiet, and comes out and kills, or the one that runs his mouth a little bit. I know which one I'm worried about. You know what I mean? Sitting in the room, I know which one I'm paying attention to. But, besides that, I'm not going after a look or an image or anything. It's just me. I grew up this way. I grew up in a martial arts household, dad, brother, mom, all a part of martial arts and competing, and I genuinely enjoy it. So there's not hate or anger that needs to get me fired up to fight. I could wake up in the morning, go play with my daughter in the yard. Somebody comes in the room randomly, and I can literally take them out, assassinate them, do what I need to do, take care of my family, protect my family, and go right back to playing. Like it's just another day for me. It's what we do, you know what I mean? And I really do genuinely enjoy it, and that might make me a little crazy, but I can't help it. That's who I am.
Yeah, it's kind of how we made it sound and how we talked about it. Both guys can be dangerous, but it's almost like he's the 6'8" bouncer at the door that can just throw you onto the curb, get you out of the club. But if for some reason things don't go right, out comes a guy in a suit, who you're thinking, who's this guy? And the next thing you know, he's actually the one that trained all the bouncers.
Right.
Your thoughts on being the one being chased versus when you were doing the chasing. How's that changed? Like when you're the chaser, when you're a challenger, you're gunning for somebody. There's a bullseye or there's a picture of somebody, on the refrigerator. You're training for that person. Everyone's doing that to you now, Tan. So what's that feel like? What motivates you? What do I guess aspires you to make sure you stay sharp?
I think there's a plus and a minus with that, kind of like everything in life. But I think going after the belt, you've got these obstacles in your way, and you've got your attention set on finally reaching that contender spot, and you've got the champ in your eyes that you've seen him have the belt for however long you've tried to climb that ladder, and then you're finally there, and now it's time to take advantage, and that's always very motivating. You still got that fire, and I think when you become champ, if you ever quote unquote like become the guy or whatever that everybody's chasing, it could be difficult if your mind's in the wrong spot. In my opinion, if you're fighting for quote unquote the wrong reasons, I've said this plenty in interviews and all that, but I fight for me. I fight to be the best version of myself. I fight to get the toughest challenges. I didn't try to find a way to the belt. I fought the best guys I could possibly fight. And then that happened to get me the belt, which I'm very grateful for, and all the fans that come along with it and all that great stuff. But now I'm privileged. I'm the one in the spot that I get to take advantage of the opportunity, because every single person I'm going to fight is the biggest and baddest dude that's in line. And if that's not what you came into the sport to do, then that's a little stressful. But that's what I came into the sport to do. I didn't want to figure out a way to become world champion. I wanted to fight the best guys to see if I even wanted to do this as a career, and then it turned into a career. Then I wanted to fight the best guys to see how good am I. I train a lot, and I feel like I'm really good at this. Let's see how good we are. Then steps move in that direction, and then now I'm like, okay, we've got a world title, a legitimate world title, and we are fighting some of the best guys on the entire planet. I'm like, cool. This is from day one. This is what I signed up for. If that's not what you wanted, it's a little scary. If it is what you wanted, I'm grateful for every opportunity. I'm grateful to fight Tenkai. And then if he beats me, guess what? I'm not number one anymore. I've got to go get better like I tried to get better during this camp. That's an opportunity. I know that sounds very martial artsy and very Instagram quote, but I guess that's why I hate that Instagram stuff, because it kind of drowns out the guys that I feel like do it for the right reasons. And, I try to do my best to do these things for the right reasons.
You've been in the game for a while. You're a well-rounded fighter, but a lot of people are going to say the last guy you trained for was a notable ground specialist. This guy's a notable stand-up specialist. To you, is it the same camp every time, or do you try to adjust and take each mission head on where their strengths are?
Well, definitely very similar camps as far as basic things like schedule, training partners for the most part, teams, things like that. I keep very consistent, routines, very consistent. As far as specific tools to sharpen with the game plan for a specific opponent, of course, that's going to change drastically. But everything's going to have a very similar feel to it. I write my weekly plans out. I write my monthly, bi-monthly plans out, and we figure out, what skills we want to be able to have as our new top, quote unquote, moves. Like my best move for the Gary camp, like the thing I could do in my sleep was certain grappling defenses to striking. It happened to play out well in a fight, so I was very grateful for that. But, in this, my best move are some other things that we think match up well with the things that are holes in his game. So I think that's the cool thing about puzzles is, when the guy I am for the Gary fight was very different from the guy I was for the Martin fight. And the guy I was for the Martin fight is very different from the guy that's ready to fight right now. Different tools that come out automatically, the old Bruce Lee saying of things hitting by itself. That's why we go through camp, so we can program our body to release those things at the right moment. Because I don't have to see it, let my brain process things, and then let it go. It just hits by itself. It just goes. And because it felt right. And that's the quickest way to respond to a certain situation, is just do what feels right all the time. Well, obviously, I can make mistakes in preparation, and I'm going to do what feels right on the night, but that might be the wrong answer, and I might go to sleep. That's a part of preparation. It's part of training. It's part of trusting your training partners, your coaches, things like that. So, that's how I try to approach camps. That's how I try to keep my skills as peak as possible and as specific as possible for this guy or that guy. So, of course, just like I said earlier, there's a plus and minus to everything. So, if for whatever reason this version of Tan Lee right now had to fight Gary Friday, then as far as skill points go, if that was 100, would I be less than that? Yeah, I might be a 98, I might be a 97, because it was specifically tuned for that bad guy. But do I still trust myself in doing the right things in all those situations to face anybody in the world? Yes, of course. That's obviously the goal, and I've got to have a lot of confidence in myself, and that's how it plays out. But that's pretty much how I try to approach every fight. And then if some things get switched up and opponents get switched up, we're always keeping everything sharp. So if I had to grapple Friday, I'd be very, very happy with how that plays out.
Tom, when you look at your opponent, you have so many great training partners and so many fights with different looks. Does he stand out over anybody that you've fought in the past? Do you feel like he's bringing anything different to the table?
Yeah. I think he brings, if you zoom out enough, conceptually, I think he brings a very similar game to what I do. I think our tools are different. I think our approach on some of that is different, but he does a good job of staying safe. He does a good job with movement. He moves his feet really well, which isn't very common in this game, honestly. But yeah, he does stand out. He's got great, powerful and sharp striking, which is a great combination for him along with his feet. So it's nice to face that danger, because you're never going to skip 2 seconds in the gym, because you get hit one time and it could be the end of it. I don't care who you're fighting. So that's to answer your question, of course it's very specific skill set, but a huge danger and very different, and in some ways better, in some ways worse in certain aspects than all the guys I fought before.
As George mentioned, we talked to Rich Franklin, and I asked him about this. when I heard everything he was saying, the first thing I thought was, man, if you say these type of things, you really have to back this up in the cage. And I started wondering, did he almost give you an advantage because now he's got to back this up? He's got to come out with some kind of aggression. What were your thoughts when you heard all that, and how do you process all that?
I think it's different for everybody. You know, you've got fighters like your Ronda Rouseys of the world who seemed like she got into a mindset where she was pretty angry to fight. You get the guys like Conor, who seems like he liked to talk a lot of shit to get in your head to create certain scenarios that he could take advantage, like a Jose Aldo type fight. You know, I don't really need any of that, like I kind of explained earlier, but maybe that gives him a sense of confidence knowing that I'm older, so maybe I'm old and slow. If that wakes you up in the morning and lets the confidence set in, you know, if he's got to bring the trash talking and tell himself that he wants to kill me or whatever, like that, everybody's got to do their own little thing to get them right for competition. For me, that's not, you know, the perfect scenario. I think what I'm doing for my fight camps and with my mindset throughout camp is what is best for me. But sometimes people adding pressure, it like makes them shine. And sometimes it destroys you and just freezes you, you know? I don't think he's going to freeze. I think he's going to come out and compete because he's a very good competitor. He's got the weight of a country supporting him. He feels like he's fighting for, you know, China's first, you know, world title here or whatever the case is. Maybe that makes him shine a little sharper, and I hope it does, because I'd love to be the absolute best version that he could ever imagine of himself and put him in the dirt. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe the pressure freezes him up a little bit. We've seen competitors in all sports go both ways in those scenarios, right? So who knows? We'll prepare for the best version, and if we get anything less, then we'll put him down a little easier.
You know, I was examining the records, very similar, but you fought more fighters of note that I've covered. And aside from that, their records are better. You know, like I feel like even though like I say, the records are pretty similar on paper, he hasn't faced as much competition, and he hasn't been in high profile fights like you have, in a title fight where you challenged and in a title fight where you defended. You're also older. Want to ask you, that mental game and the experience, how much value is there to that a lot of people don't know? A lot of people focus on age, maybe the reach, things like that, or, you know, wins and losses. But what about experience in the mental game from experience?
I think putting skill point, like I always think about it as a video game, you know, like little XP points that you level up your character with. I think if I could take even more points from my attributes, I'm a fast dude. I can take points from my speed. I don't need that. I'd put it all in experience and fight IQ. Like that's what controls the game. That's why the master is the master. You know, if he's a little slower, a little less powerful, he still has the moments. He still has the reads. He can see into the future because of the situations that he's creating. That's the magic of martial arts. I don't think we always see that in fighting, but I think we see that in martial arts. And I think that's very different with the way I grew up, the way I challenged myself coming up in the regional scene and things like that. But yeah, as far as opponent records and things go, I know we're more familiar with my guys because we're from the U.S. and all of that, or at least I am. But, you know, it's that's something that I said earlier, I touched on earlier, but I really mean it. Like, I didn't know if this was going to be an actual career when I started. So I was like, well, I might as well find out in my first 2 fights if I'm going to do this as a job or not. So give me the baddest dude. Who you got? Who's the best guy? Let me fight him. If I were to set up a student that I knew wanted to make this a life and he didn't have kids and a job and a house he had to pay for like I did, yeah, let's get you some fights. Let's develop you in the right direction. Let's set you up for success, very similar to how boxing does, right? I don't want to say pad records, but put you in the right scenarios to fight the right guys so you can develop as you grow as a pro. I didn't do that. I fought the baddest dudes possible because if I couldn't do this at an elite level, take care of my family, be a world champion, if I couldn't be the best version of myself as a martial artist, I want to know now. I'll go do this as a hobby and try to find another way to support my family. And then, you know, my route was right for me. It put me in the best scenario to develop as quickly and as best as I could. And I think we see that in my fights as far as skills and fight IQ and experience. So I'm grateful for that. It wasn't as, I guess, as it didn't sound as well thought out and planned when I was doing it, but now looking back, I'm really glad it was that thought out, and I took the time to do those things because it set me up for the right things, you know.
Want to thank you so much for joining us here on Fight Week, Tan, and good luck at One Championship 160. What a big weekend for One Championship, 2 big fight cards, and I hope you guys have a great fight. This thing's building up very, very nicely. And if this isn't the fight, you definitely want to go get some popcorn or grab that beer, man. You guys get down. A lot of 1s and 2s.
Look, we're
so
not going to go to decision. I promise you that.
Yeah.
I have never gone to decision. This ain't going to be the first fight. Win or lose. I promise you. We are going to finish the fight. And they put the main event as the second to last fight for some reason. So your main event right here is going to be second to last. Y'all make sure you tune in. It's going to be fucking fireworks.